Good evening, everyone. This is Gary Bennett at XLMe. Welcome to our What's New with Xcode part number 4. Tonight we're going to be building with the new Xcode just a simple kind of hello world application, but we're going to be using a lot of the new features in Interface Builder, which is now integrated into Xcode 4 as opposed to being kind of a separate application that kind of communicated back and forth with Xcode through inter-process communication that made it kind of difficult. So we're gonna look at some of the new secrets and uses inside of Xcode 4 to do this. And I just noticed here by one of the questions that someone posted earlier, Joel asked, he's just starting to learn Xcode, and he's learning with the old Xcode because that's what the old books show. And he's wondering if he should learn Xcode 4 after he learns the old Xcode. And, it can't hurt to learn both, but if I were you, I'd just go ahead and jump into Xcode 4 because there is even a learning curve, even knowing the old Xcode, jumping into the new Xcode 4. A lot of differences. There are some frustrations, I'll have to admit, with the new Xcode 4. And I would just go ahead and learn Xcode 4 straight off, my own opinion. But anyway, let's go ahead and look at some of the new features here and build a kind of a first app learning some of the new features and secrets in Xcode 4. I'm going to go ahead and hop over to our Xcode and go ahead and minimize this and minimize that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start up our Xcode here. And I'm going to start with a new project. It's going to be a new project that we're used to doing with Xcode. We're going to do a view-based. And I'm going to call this Interface Builder new. And we'll just have it be an iPhone application for right now. And I'll do next, create. And here we have our project. It started out, and we talked about some of this in our last class. But I'm going to go ahead first thing and just hop over to my nib file and kind of look at it. Right now, if I start it up, it's just a simple gray view, and that's what it would look like when I start it up. But let's go ahead and add some controls to it. I'm going to go ahead and click on my little column here that adds my controls and make this a little bit bigger right now. That's how we do that. I made my cursor a little bit bigger, so hopefully you're able to see it easier. And I'm going to add a button and a label. So here's my label, and I want to do my button right here. I'm going to center it up, and Interface Builder helps me to center it all up. And now what I want to do, instead of having to go into my header file for my nib, I can go ahead and then manually type the outlet and the action that goes with these buttons. I can just go ahead and by doing a control command return, if I'm sitting here on my view, control command return. I'm sorry, it's option command return. Option command return will go ahead and place the corresponding header file for this nib over here for us. And I'm just going to go ahead and kind of move it here over to the side, give myself some room, and get rid of my properties here. All right, so now what I typically would do in my header file is add, either before or after I add these labels, I'd have to go in there and type my outlet and my action for these two controls. Well, with the new Interface Builder, I can just go ahead and drag from the label, and I'm going to place it here right where this outlet belongs. And it's going to ask me, well, what is it? What type of connection? It's an outlet. And what do we want to call it? And I'm going to call it my label. And it's a type UI label. That's correct. And the next thing I'm going to do, and you can see here that it created my my outlet for that with my label and type. And also I'm going to do the same thing by doing a control drag from my my button over to my header. I'm going to drop it, and I'm going to change that from an outlet to an action, and I'm going to call this one press me. type ID, and here's my event that I want, which is touch up inside, and the argument is going to be the typical sender, which I'll just leave that by default. I'll hit connect. Boom, there's the code for that, all set and ready to go. And I'm going to call this button here, the label it Press Me. All right, so now we have this all hooked up, ready to go. The actions and the outlet are connected for those events. So now let's go ahead and let's go see what we need to do now to get our action to work. Well, first thing we can see is in our dialog, it's already now released that code for us, or that label for us. It's also in our outlet. It has set in the view did unload, it's also released that outlet as well. And it's created all for us as well, the action for it. So let's go ahead and have that view, that button, when it's pressed, display something in the label. So let's go ahead and call our label, and as I type it, it automatically fills in. And I'll use the property text, and I'll just say hello world, my semicolon there. And I will make sure before I do this, I want to make sure this label is going to hold that text. And we'll go ahead here and make the font maybe just a little bit bigger as well, 15 font. Go ahead and save everything, and let's compile it and run and see what happens. So here it is, Press Me with the label. I'll hit Press Me and changes to our hello world. Just a simple program to show you some of the new features in Xcode 4 that I think make it worthy of learning right away. Right now you can download from the developers site, the iPhone developer site at Apple's site. You can download either Xcode 3.2.6 or 4.0. You will have had to pay the $99 or download it paying I think it's $4 for Xcode 4 from the App Store. And anyway, for those that are attending live tonight, you can go ahead and hang on here, and I'll stop the recording in just a minute, and you can ask any questions related to anything in the book, or you can ask any questions related to what we covered tonight. Those of you that are watching on the YouTube video, if you want to see parts 1 and part 2, just go to xcelme.com, click on YouTube or free over here, and the prior ones, part 1, part 2 is here. Part 3 will show up right here as well. And for those of you that would like to take the more formal, in-depth classes, just click on the schedule and you can see when those are. They're also on demand, so you have access to both the live recordings from the previous course and the live sessions. All right, I'll go ahead and stop the recording, and we will go ahead and continue with any questions.